I'm Christina Onnested. Europe's death toll from a heat wave has increased to 1,100. This comes as wildfires also scorched the Iberian Peninsula to Greece and forced evacuations of tens of thousands of people. In the United Kingdom, a record-breaking heat wave of 104 degrees caused flight delays from melted tarmac. The climate justice group Extinction Rebellion gathered at the Rupert Murdoch's News UK offices and broke glass windows of the building, calling climate change a crisis and slamming the media outlets' coverage of the heat wave. Here's a scientist activist with the group.
People are dying, and you would hope that newspapers would take responsibility for giving the public information that they need to keep themselves safe. And News UK have consistently been printing articles like we see here of people like happy in the sun and like women in bikinis and totally making light of the situation. They're absolutely not providing people with the information that they need. Ultimately, we need to stop using fossil fuels as quickly as possible because this situation is escalating.
The heat wave is also extending to Morocco, where wildfires have forced some 1,000 people to evacuate their homes. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned no nation is immune from climate change. He spoke in Germany during a gathering of 40 nations for climate talks ahead of this year's COP27 climate summit in Egypt this November.
Greenhouse gas concentration, sea level rise, and ocean heat have broken new records. Half of humanity is in the danger zone from floods, droughts, extreme storms, and wildfires. No nation is immune. Yet we continue to feed our fossil fuel addiction. What troubles me most is that in facing this global crisis, we are failing to work together as a multilateral community. Nations continue to play the blame game instead of taking responsibility for our collective future. We cannot continue this way.
European nations vow to fulfill their climate targets even as the war in Ukraine prompts some to seek new fossil fuel sources and turn at least temporarily to coal to make up for shortfalls in Russia's energy deliveries, something viewed with suspicion by developing countries and climate justice activists. Meanwhile, scientists say the extreme heat slamming large parts of Europe in recent weeks could become the new normal in summer if global warming continues. U.S. officials are warning climate change will impact global food security. Jonah Chester has more.
The leader of the U.S. Agency for International Development warned Monday the globe will face a surge in food insecurity in the coming years. While noting there are a number of driving forces behind the shortages, U.S. Aid Administrator Samantha Power says the biggest cause is climate change, felt most acutely in Eastern Africa, which has been plagued by droughts in recent years.
Today, I am announcing a surge of nearly $1.2 billion in funding that will be dispatched to meet the immediate needs faced by the people of Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia.
I'm Jonah Chester for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
In the U.S., President Joe Biden is considering plans to declare a climate emergency. According to a report from the Washington Post, it comes as the White House is facing mounting pressure to take executive action on climate change since conservative Democrats have derailed Biden's Build Back Better social and environmental spending plan. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin is credited with killing the plan, siding with Republicans in opposing it. Two Senate Democrats Monday urged Biden to declare a climate emergency. That's Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. They're also calling on the White House to use the Defense Production Act to produce renewable energy products and systems like solar panels in the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris warned the nation is under attack from extremist leaders trying to limit freedoms. She spoke Monday at the NAACP, the nation's oldest civil rights organization's annual convention.
Together, we have fought hard to move our nation forward. And yet, we must recognize there are those who are fighting to drag us backward. Extremist, so-called leaders who are attempting to undermine our democracy and assault our most fundamental freedoms, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to make decisions about our own bodies, and the freedom to vote.
The first black and woman vice president was a keynote speaker. She called the right to live safely in a community without the fear of gun violence a civil rights issue, noting black people make up 13% of the nation's population but are 62% of gun homicide victims. She also denounced Republican efforts to restrict abortion access, framing reproductive rights along with voting rights as civil rights issues. Russian missiles have struck cities and villages in eastern and southern Ukraine as Russia's President Vladimir Putin visits Iran to discuss a UN-backed proposal to unblock Ukrainian grain exports. He'll also join Middle Eastern leaders to discuss the war in Syria. I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.